project is humorous speech. And so the objectives of his speech are 3 E's. He's supposed to exaggerate, he's supposed to entertain, and he's supposed to be full of emotion through body language. So I'm going to evaluate his speech based on those 3 objectives. Now you notice that Tom used a very clever opening. Today is St. Patrick's Day. So this is what we call opening on occasion, which is a very, very good way to open the speech. And because of his Irish heritage, he was able to make use of that very well. But Tom, I was expecting you to be like a leprechaun and dance around a little jig. You know what I mean? But you didn't do that. So what the heck are you doing, boy? Blimey, I think you're pretty good Irish accent. But you notice he was able to pull that off quite well, right? He was able to use the accent to his advantage, and that got our attention. Some members of the audience may not get that. It may have been a little bit difficult to understand, because accents of any sort are always difficult to understand. But I think for most of us, we got the jokes. That was very clever. I was very impressed with how he was able to entertain with exaggeration, how he was able to use body language to exaggerate, and how he was able to show emotion and entertain. So he actually was able to take all 3 elements and mix them together in a very creative way. So you couldn't tell which part he was actually doing. So sometimes he was telling the story and he was moving his body like crazy, and he was still exaggerating. So it was a very, very effective use of technique when he did that, particularly with the baby staring him in the eyes, which we remember quite well. And the baby saying, 7, 1, 7. I mean, these kind of jokes are very clever, and it really shows his creativity in creating the story. One thing, though, there's a few comments that overall the speech is well crafted, because you notice he was able to move from the Irish story to the next section, from the baby story to the conclusion in a very, very easy way. It seemed like one continuous story, which is one of the objectives of his speech, is to make it sound like a story, which was very convincing. As I said, he moved all 3 elements very closely together. He did the story very well. Some points that I think Tom might consider for improvement. He spoke earlier about this wonderful venue, and I thought his vocal level was just a notch low. I think knowing that this was such a good venue, he should have just raised it up a slight notch, just to create more ambience. Second thing that Tom, the use of your stories, which were so well crafted, I was surprised you didn't do 2 things with them. One was to draw the audience in a bit more with some questions. To say, can you imagine carrying the baby up? Right, you pull us in a little bit more into the story. And the second thing that I think, particularly with the stories that you used, you had a lot of opportunity for rebound. In other words, you could have milked it for the laugh. You got the second laugh and the third laugh from each joke, each punchline. So those were a few things that I thought you might have done a little bit better. But overall, I think the speech was very successful. And the thing that I would look, the other thing that was very enjoyable was the hanging ending. Not a normal ending, not the convincing kind of speech that we normally look for, but just something to end on a laugh, which again, I think is a very clever move on Tom's part, and we were laughing when he was walking off the stage. So again, congratulations, very good. Is this your number 10 advanced project?
I think it is.
Let's give Tom a round of applause. Communicator.
Silver.
Silver.